Today's video is brought to you by Audible. More on them in a bit. Raise your hand if you enjoy a good theme park. Look, we at Mega Projects try not to make a habit of being too prescriptive, but we'd be willing to bet the majority of hands just flew up in the air. At least in your minds, no one actually put their hands up, except for you, Peter. Thank you, Peter. From the Walt Disney Company's global empire to Universal Studios to, well, probably the Disney parks again, the world's major cities and population centers are thoroughly saturated with spinny rides, animal exhibits, and as much fried dough as a person could ever want. Florida's Disney World theme park hosted almost 60 million visitors in 2021, and that's nowhere near the total attendance number of all the world's theme parks, local favorites, and weird middle-of-nowhere homemade roller coasters that some weird hermit won't make you pay to ride. There's not a lot of places to get what the best theme parks offer, and people across the globe have proven their willingness to travel far and wide for a piece of the action. It was from this same observation that Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid Al Maktoum, Emir of Dubai, created a concept that he would announce to the world in October 2003, Dubailand. Sprawling across 107 square miles in the middle of the desert, the Sheikh's vision was of a theme park that was bigger and better than any other. It was a project of absolutely massive scale, meant to entice visitors from everywhere and anywhere to come and visit, and with a price tag of $64 billion, it was the kind of investment only a place like Dubai could even conceive of. And for a moment, if only for a brief, fleeting moment, it looked as if it might actually be built. So let's take a look at Dubailand, the United Arab Emirates' Gargantuan theme park, how it was conceived, what was built, and why Sheikh Mohammed, now the Prime Minister of the UAE, was unable to bring his vision to life. It was to be a jewel shining in the bright desert sun, a gift to the world, an open invitation to every person to come and see what has been built. Sheikh Mohammed's vision for Dubai was on a scale previously unrivaled across even the world's best theme parks. As we've said before, the project was meant to consume over 100 square miles, and located just outside Dubai, it was intended to be a close companion to the rest of the city's tourist infrastructure. Visit one, and you'd almost certainly visit the other, boosting the economy, bringing a positive word back home, and maybe, in an ideal world, one day choosing to move out to Dubai full time. The scale of investment reflects just how important this was to the UAE. With $64 billion expected for the project, it would consume just over 12% of the country's GDP in today's world, but back in 2003 when it was proposed, Dubailand would have consumed 3 times the GDP of its host city. Modern estimates put Sheikh Mohammed's own fortune anywhere between $4 billion and $35 billion. So even if he had decided to personally bankrupt himself in support of his roller coasters, it still wouldn't have been enough. But we'll skip ahead just a moment and give you a bit of foreshadowing. By 2003, 10 years after the idea went public, some $55 billion of Dubailand's price tag had already been secured. As we go forward, do keep that in mind. No matter how inexplicable those sums are, Dubai apparently did have access to them. So then, what exactly were they going to do with all that money? But with so much land to fill up, perhaps a better question was whether they bothered to rule anything out. And the answer to that question would be, well, no. No, they didn't. Dubailand was slated to include no less than 45 individual mega projects, including at least 10 unique theme parks, Six Flags, Universal Studios, Dubailand, Paramount Pictures Park, DreamWorks Animation Park, an unnamed Marvel Superheroes Park, and Legoland Dubai, among others. Interspersed among the theme parks would be sports arenas, art museums, planetariums, and a Formula One race circuit. The whole apparatus would be held up with a network of hotels, shopping centers, residences, restaurants, and a proper city centre, and resorts on the fringes of the land would provide the beach vacations and spa trips that grown-up visitors might be drawn to. Its crown jewel, the Great Ferris Wheel, would be a Ferris wheel larger than the London Eye, from which guests could gaze 50 kilometers out in all directions. The land was broken up into 6 zones. Themed Leisure and Vacation World would host many of the big-name theme parks. Attractions and Experience World was for some of Dubailand's more distinctive creations. Ecotourism World would offer attractions built around themes of biodiversity and wildlife, and downtown was to be the epicenter of commerce for the entire theme park. The other 2 zones, Retail and Entertainment World and Sports and Outdoor World respectively, were, well, they were exactly what they sound like. And some of the unique items that would fill these zones would be enough to set Dubailand apart from any other mega resort on the planet. The Dubai Snow Dome. Yes, a snow dome in a country that averages 25 days of rain a year and is among the hottest places in the world would include an ice castle, penguins, and a massive indoor ski run. The Falcon City of Wonders would bring together large-scale replicas of the wonders of the world, most of which would include accommodations as hotels and apartments. The Al Sahara Desert Resort would be an ode to an idealized form of local Bedouin culture, and the global village would essentially become Disney's Epcot Park, but on steroids, featuring cultural representations of 90 nations and peoples. But beneath this gaudy, expansive vision also lies a deeper question on how exactly Dubailand was going to benefit Dubai. Tourism was marketed as the major economic benefit, obviously, but the sales that Dubailand envisioned were as massive as the project. Dubai's own marketing department calculated that as of 2003, some 1.5 billion people lived within a 4-hour flight of Dubailand, and of their population, they estimated that 15 million people would be tempted to visit by or before 2010. At this time in UAE history, it was nearly completely dependent on oil revenues, to the extent that a global boom or crash in oil prices would essentially dictate the status of the UAE's economy. But with Dubailand, the UAE could diversify its economy, using tourism as a potentially crucial counterbalance to any trouble with the oil market. So just before we continue with today's video, let me tell you about today's sponsor, Audible, the best place to listen to whatever you are interested in. From best-selling audiobooks in every genre, Audible originals, and popular podcasts, its all-in-one platform is the home of storytelling, with all of your audio entertainment on one app. Revisit your favorites or find something new to discover. You can download or stream all the titles you want, and as an Audible member, you can choose one title from their catalog per month, and you keep it forever. Audible is constantly expanding their selection of titles, making your membership more and more valuable. If you're looking for a recommendation from me, check out the Golden Gate Bridge, mega project for sure. It's the story of how America's most famous bridge was built. It's got first-hand accounts written by the workers and the chief engineer, and you'll learn about the Golden Gate Bridge like you never have before. New members can try Audible free for 30 days. Just visit audible.com/mega or text mega to 500-500. Let Audible help you discover new ways to laugh, be inspired, or be entertained. Don't forget to try it out. Again, visit audible.com/mega or text mega to 500-500 for your free 30-day trial. And now back to today's video. By the time Dubailand was announced to the world, much of the planning and development phase was already complete, and the project received a substantial boost from the private sector in its early days. Its budget had counted on $18 billion of private investment, but investors were able to give Sheikh Mohammed a nice surprise and raise somewhere in the range of 20 to 25 billion instead. Floating on more cash than expected, developers launched the first phase of the project, which was intended to last from 2005 to 2010. The work in this phase was mostly logistical and infrastructural, building the roads, commerce centers, hotels, and other resources that Dubailand would need. Once those were available, tourists would be able to start trickling in as soon as the first theme parks were complete. With progress ongoing on the core infrastructure, Dubailand's architects turned their focus to the attractions themselves, the theme parks, the shopping malls, the golf courses, and the resorts. Planning permission was granted for the Great Dubai Wheel in 2006, with an estimated opening date just 3 years later. And in April 2007, the project got a massive boost when Universal Studios announced that they'd be spending over $1 billion on a 7 million square foot theme park within Dubailand. The park would be split into 5 sections, each of which would comprise a group of rides and attractions. This sign of faith from Universal began to get Western audiences more interested in the concept and signaled to other theme park corporations that Dubailand really was worth their money. Take a moment and remember which years we're talking about here, and then remember just how dependent on oil the UAE was at this time. Announced in 2003, the first phase estimated to be done around 2006, and then a global financial crisis in 2007 and 2008. For an oil-dependent economy like Dubai, this was catastrophic. Although prices hit a high of about $134 a barrel in June 2008, they then took a nosedive down to just $39 a barrel in February of 2009. That was almost unimaginably bad for Dubai, although on some level it did reinforce the economic rationale for Dubailand's existence. International tourism did take a substantial hit during those same months, but an active, substantial tourism industry would have gone a long way in buoying the UAE's economic pain during this period. But that tourism industry didn't exist yet, and the effect on Dubailand was nothing short of catastrophic. Development was almost completely put on hold, and almost the entire workforce on the project were fired. The Dubailand property, and even parts of Dubai itself, began to empty out. The blow couldn't have come at a worse time. So much money had been pumped into the project already, but none of the attractions were remotely near operational. There was no way to recoup investment through rides and resorts that didn't yet exist, but the sunk cost was too great to simply leave behind. This was a turn of events that nobody in the theme park world had seen coming, and many major corporations had already been laying out their own plans for participation. So even as all the laborers and architects left Dubailand, big names stepped up. In fact, we could just go month by month through the first half of 2008 here. In January, DreamWorks announced their intention to participate in the project. In March, it was Six Flags. May, both Marvel and Legoland made announcements that they would be coming to Dubailand, as well as a number of big-name Emirati businesses. We can only imagine what the conversations must have been like when Dubailand's developers had to kindly alert these entertainment powerhouses that construction had been completely halted and wouldn't get underway again for the foreseeable future. As the financial crisis stretched on, Dubai's hopes for a quick recovery and a return to work went out of the window, and so did their Western partners. Six Flags and DreamWorks both quietly exited the project, and Universal Studios Dubailand, which was originally promised for 2010, saw no significant construction at all, except its iconic archway. It would sit alone in the desert for years before being taken down. Formula One and its financial backers pulled their support, and the Dubai Snowdome and Dubai Golf City were abandoned. By January 2012, the developers announced that not even the Great Dubai Wheel would be built. That's not to say that nothing happened at all on the land for which Dubailand was originally intended. In early 2013, the Dubai Miracle Gardens were completed and opened, making them the world's largest natural flower garden. The Dubai Butterfly Garden, just nearby, opened in 2015. Legoland stuck with the project and was rewarded for its trouble in 2016 when its theme park opened on the property, and some portions of Dubailand's Western-branded attractions went ahead even without Western support, including tributes to DreamWorks Animation, Columbia Pictures, and Lionsgate. These are brought together at the Motion Gate Dubai Park, which features 7 roller coasters and a range of attractions. The Global Village, that Epcot on steroids that we mentioned, was downgraded to an annual festival, but still takes place each year. Developers also plan to revive key elements like the Mall of Arabia and the Falcon City of Wonders, and Dubai Sports City is up and running, where it hosted cricket's Asia Cup in 2018. But interspersed with the remaining attractions and developments are the many, many skeletons that remain from Dubailand's earlier ambitions. Much of the Formula One theme park was left halfway built out in the middle of nowhere, as is the single partially built golf course that got out of the design phase in Dubai Golf City. Massive portions of the surrounding land have been sold off and repurposed, and most of what remains of Dubailand fits inside a few square miles. Dug-out foundation and unused remnants of road crisscrosses the surrounding desert, a pale, ghostly spiderweb, no longer fit to ensnare a fly, let alone 15 million tourists a year. Compared to the scope of what Dubailand was originally intended to be, it seems fair to say that today's completed parks and rides are a meager consolation prize for Sheikh Mohammed and his many, many investors. How much of their money they got back is impossible to know for sure, but with the scale of foreign investment in the idea, it seems unlikely that the Emirates' own bigwigs were holding back in the years right before the financial crisis. And it's tempting to wonder what the project might have been like, what it might have become if that crisis never hit. Because unlike some later vanity projects of this same breed, it seemed as if Dubailand actually had some momentum, fleeting as it may have been. And while there's room to compare Dubailand to more modern projects like Saudi Arabia's planned AI megacity of Neom or the Oblisco Capitale megatall skyscraper that will allegedly sit at the middle of Egypt's developing new administrative capital, it's important to remember that Dubailand was a fantasy of a somewhat different time, built out of a level of genuine economic need by the Emirates rather than exclusively as a flex for the local dictator. This was a massive idea that reflected the massive capital that it could generate. One common theme between many of the more ridiculous mega projects we cover is that the architects behind them seem far more concerned with what is possible than what is practical. There's no point in sinking $1 trillion into a planned city if nobody actually wants to live there, and it's tempting to see Dubailand as one of these same wasteful endeavors. But this is a project that has some truly major international backing, plus a level of private investment beyond what most developments will ever see. A whole lot of people signed on to the idea of Dubailand as something that, while maybe not strictly necessary, was worth creating nonetheless. The old adage, build it and they will come, often falls apart around mega projects of this scale, but Sheikh Mohammed, the UAE, Universal Studios, Formula One, DreamWorks, Six Flags, and a whole lot of other people seem to agree that in this case, it would hold up. Build Dubailand, and apparently, the people of the world would come to see it. But then, I suppose, we'll never really know.